You're listening to the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast, episode 37, where we get into, is it really as easy as just getting the skills of application on board in order to achieve study success? So stay tuned. I'm Katie Jones, and with over 15 years in education as an award-winning high school teacher, international external examiner, and as a study coach, I've helped thousands of students skyrocket their results and confidence. And this podcast is where I share all my insights, tactics, and tips with you, the parent, so you can help your hardworking teen get happy, smart, and successful in their study, and have you both enjoy the journey along the way. This is the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast. Hello, very important parents, and a special welcome to you if you are a brand new listener. I know that we're getting more and more listeners each week these days, and it's all down to word of mouth. I don't run any ads for the podcast, and so all of the growth so far is down to you parents sharing the benefits that you've gotten from it. So if that's you, then a big thank you. I actually just spoke to a parent last week who told me that they have literally listened to every single episode, which is just fantastic. So if that's you as well, then a big high five from me in a thank you kind of way, and also in a go you kind of way, because that's just excellent commitment, and it's exactly the reason why I aim to make every episode as helpful and as useful as possible. And if that's not you, then firstly, if you've not listened to every episode, what? Just joking. But I really would recommend listening, I will say, to episodes 1 to 3 to start with if you haven't. Partly because in this episode, I'm going to focus a lot on getting the skills of application. So if you aren't familiar with the study success formula, knowledge plus application equals success, then that will be really helpful to get into first. And secondly, if you haven't shared the podcast and you have any friends or family who you think might also enjoy it or find it helpful, then please do take a screenshot on your phone right now, or use the share link in whatever app you're using and send it on to them. Because that'll set you up with some good karma for yourself, if nothing else. But you might just also make a huge difference to someone else's life. I really do believe that this work can be life-changing. And I know that sounds pretty full on, but I have a whole subfolder in my inbox that is labeled Awesome Emails. That's just full of updates or feedback from parents and students telling me things like they've gotten into their dream course at their top choice of uni, or how much less stressed or more confident they are. And I always remember a student, and I have their emails in there still as well. They were in the very early days of the 10WGT, who was getting C's and quite a few D's when they were in year 10. And they needed straight C's and above to get into their dream career in the army. And they ended up getting all A's and B's across the board by the time they finished school. And not only, of course, therefore got in, but I also have the email from their dad saying how much they were loving the army training. That was a whole year later. So I know that this can make a big, big impact. And then there are also the emails from parents just saying how much calmer their household is now without those last-minute assignment dramas or the meltdowns over exams, how their teens' anxiety levels have decreased, how their relationship has become so much more positive together. It's like a library of proof that this really can make all the difference. So today and next week, I'm going to share and expand on 2 questions that I have just been asked just this past week by parents. Now, these are both parents who just recently enrolled their teens into the 10-week grade transformation program after our Have Your Teen Nail Their New Year group webinar that I hosted back at the start of February. And so even though they're totally on board with everything, they were still kind of curious, I think, when we spoke. So I'm going to cover the first question with you today and then the second one next week, because I've got a lot I want to say on these things. And the first question that I want to share with you was this. This parent asked, is it really that easy? I mean, I'm still finding it difficult to believe that just getting these skills and techniques really is the missing thing and is going to make so much difference, that it's really that simple to sort out. And I think what's also kind of tied into that is it really just as easy as learning these techniques and strategies to increase their grades and confidence? And I did, of course, give them my answer there and then, but I wanted to share it with you and also expand on it a little bit more as well. Because I know I often share the simple yet super effective strategies in how students can up-level their performance and increase their understanding of assessments and essays and exam questions. And I show you how it's not really that complicated once you know this stuff and once your team knows this stuff. So I thought I'd dive a bit deeper into what's really required, whether that's from you as the parent or carer, from your teen, and actually also in next week's question and episode, also from me. So I have a few different aspects to cover in my answer here on this episode. Firstly, I thought I would actually look up the word easy in the dictionary. Now, I know that might sound a bit nuts because it's not really the sort of word that we would usually need to go and look up in the dictionary, but I was curious to see what it said, because when I was thinking about this after the conversation, personally, I was thinking about easy being fast or not taking very much effort. And I wondered whether both of those things had to be true in order for something to actually be considered easy, and if there was anything else that I was kind of missing or wasn't really considering. So according to my quick bit of Googling, the online dictionary said easy means achieved without great effort, presenting few difficulties. And then the second sort of definition said it could be a period of time or a way of life free from worries or problems. And I actually really liked both of these, because when I then thought about it, these are the main aims of the strategies and the concepts that I share. I want to make study success achievable for students with less of the stress and struggle, i.e. without great effort where there shouldn't be, and more on that later, and do it with fewer difficulties. And for them and you as the parent to make their life at school and your lives at home be as free from worries and problems as possible. At least where I'm concerned academically. But of course, none of it is going to be 100% easy 100% of the time. And in fact, we don't want it to be. We don't actually want your teen to find their study easy, because that would mean that they aren't being given the right level of challenge. They aren't working at their potential. So bear with me here as I explain a bit more on this. And you can hear me talk more about that, the right level of challenge and things not being easy and how much hard work they should be doing. It's in episode 34 where I talked about hardworking versus overworking. We want your teen to develop a good work ethic. We want them to also, though, feel the reward for that hard work. And that can't be possible if we aren't doing any hard work. But we don't want them to be struggling more than they need to be, and on things that aren't supposed to be that difficult. They're not supposed to be the things that are hard or that are that time consuming or stressful. We want their hard work to be on the things that are going to pay off for them. And there's also the consideration that I do stand by the idea that some stress can be good for us. And it's not true that we should never, ever feel stressed, that all stress should be eradicated. I just don't think that's real life. And when it's appropriate and at a manageable level and time frame, then feeling some stress, whether it's for exams or feeling nervous before giving a presentation, for example, can actually help us perform better. And I talked more about that in episode 7. And I'll link those episodes up in the show notes, so you can easily go check those out if you want more on any of this. But I want to make it really clear that I don't actually want everything in their study to be completely easy. But I do want to make things that are keeping them stuck, things that are preventing them from reaching their potential, easy to overcome or break through, which in my experience, these things are the missing skills of application, of being able to apply their subject knowledge in the way that the question demands and the mark scheme requires. I don't want them to have to endure unnecessary worry or put in way more effort than they need to be or could be for that same outcome. Not so that they can become lazy or have no drive or work ethic, but so that they can have that effort be channeled and used in the best ways for them. And that might not even be their study. They might want to have more time and energy for other things in life as well, or just so that their time and effort in their study is actually rewarded. To have this happen in ways that will build their achievements, their feelings of success, and their confidence. So I do want to make it as easy as possible for them to get the training and build their skills of application in order to make that a reality. But remember, easy in the definition does not mean zero effort. It means without great effort. The dictionary definition said achieved without great effort. So let's dig into this a little bit more. So firstly, for you as the parent or carer, I like to think that it's easy to get this information and learn these insights from me. As in, you can listen to this podcast on a walk or in the car. You can watch one of my webinars or attend one of my free parent events from home via the internet. You have to do something to go, find the podcast or register for the webinar. And if you've been to any of my free online events, you do end up taking lots of notes. And I even get you to answer some questions in the chat as well. But it's not great effort. I still think it's pretty easy. And to take it a step further, it's easy to take about 30 seconds to enroll your teen into the 10-week Grade Transformation Program. And then have everything else taken care of by me and our small but mighty team at Rock Solid Study. And in fact, in many ways, your life will also then get easier. Because then you don't have to be trying to help your teen with their latest assignment. You don't have to be reading their latest English novel so you can proofread their essay. You don't have to worry anymore about burnout, their exam stress, or how much or little sleep they're getting when they're staying up late trying to get that report finished. But for your teen, they do actually have to complete that training. They have to engage with the training that I deliver in the program and then apply it and action it in their own study. Now, often this is easier than they think it will be. I have made sure that everything in the 10WGT is broken down step by step, delivered in the most effective and efficient ways. Everything is bite-sized with real-life examples that we work through together. They aren't left on their own. There isn't any extra homework for them to have to go and do on top of it. But there are plenty of ways for them to practice and action everything in their own study. So they're not getting extra stuff given on top. And the concepts and strategies and techniques aren't even that difficult to grasp or use. These aren't things that most students aren't doing or using because they're not smart enough to. It's just that they don't know what they don't know. But there are some instances, some types of tasks or ways that questions might be worded or set for your teen by their teachers in exams or in assignments that may be more challenging when it comes to applying some of these skills and techniques. So in my webinars, for example, I always use examples of identifying command words in questions. And I show how clear and simple it is when you know what to look for, but I also make sure I include a more complex example where it's not so obvious exactly what the command is and how students can actually then go on to dissect the wording and determine it. In fact, I would say that my most recent webinar was the most complex example of this that I have ever really shared publicly, like not working on it directly with students, because it was an NCEA exam essay question and it looked like an analyze command when you first read it. But actually, we got into it, and once you know what the evaluate level of command really means, to give a judgment, it was clear that it was exactly that, an evaluate level essay question. And this is where the real magic comes in. When your teen has these skills and builds them and practices and hones them until they're not only proficient in them, but they master them and can do everything accurately and quickly. So it actually becomes effortless and natural to take those steps, to naturally go straight to the command word, for example, rather than concentrating on the topic of the question. And that does take some concentration and effort to start with when they are learning those skills. Just like learning to drive takes a lot of concentration and effort in the beginning. But eventually, we do everything proficiently and naturally when we are driving the car without having to put in lots of effort. And then we have the brain space and the capacity to then consider or add in other things when we're learning, or we can have a conversation with a passenger or listen to music or a podcast when we're driving, which is then where students can really go to the next level with their study. Because here is the best part. Once you have learned to drive, you have that skill and you can use it to take you anywhere. It is the same with the skills of application, the skills of effective note-taking or active revision and exam technique, identifying the focus, not just the topic of an essay question, mastering the 3 steps of analysis. These can be used across any subject and any type of task or assessment. This is what I mean when I say these skills are universal. Learning them and becoming skilled in them does take some time and effort, but what these do is then make essays, exam prep, assignments, report writing, even things like writing and delivering oral presentations, and of course sitting exams, a hell of a lot easier. So will your teen study ever be 100% easy? I hope not, because that will mean that your teen's not being challenged at the right level. But we want that challenge to be from the things that will move them forwards and upwards and have them build their confidence and achieve their full potential. Not have that challenge coming from things like going off on the wrong track in their assignment and having to rewrite it, or having to cut 1,000 words from their essay draft because they don't really know how to answer the question and they're just writing too much, or they're staying up till the small hours to prep for an exam because they don't have the 6 elements of exam technique nailed and the confidence and strategy that those bring. So will having these skills and strategies make it easier to achieve their ultimate study success? Yes. Will it make both their everyday study and those big assessments and assignments and exams feel easier and less stressful? Yes. And those strategies and skills can be easy to learn and build and hone, because I've worked for the past 8 years to make it as easy as possible for your teen to get them. And it's my mission to keep doing that in the podcast, in my free events and resources, and of course in the 10-week Great Transformation Program. So if you think this could be the key to making your teen's study life easier, not so that it requires no effort, but so that their effort pays off and they become more successful in their study and have these skills that will serve them forever, then have them come join us. Join us in the 10WGT. And before I sign off, and between now and next week, where I'll share the second question that I've had this week, I have a question for you. I would love to know, what's one thing that you or your teen have learned from me that has made their study feel easier? Drop me an email, support@rocksolidstudy.com, and let me know. I would love to hear what are some of the things that you are actioning and applying and taking away, whether it's from this podcast, from a webinar, or even if they are in one of my trainings. I would love to hear from you. And until next week, I hope you have an easygoing, but not so easy that it feels kind of boring week. Take care. I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now. If you're ready to have your teen achieve their best possible results with less stress, then I want to invite you to enroll them in the 10-week Great Transformation Program, where they're going to learn the key concepts, skills, and strategies to catapult their performance in assessments and exams. It's risk-free. They either achieve bigger and better results with a whole lot more confidence in 10 weeks, or we refund you in full. Just head over to www.rocksolidstudy.com/program, and I'll see you there.